Hello, my name is Shoal. I work for Micrographics. You can find us on the web, www.mgfx.co.za. Right, so the purpose of this video is to show you dynamic blocks and how it could improve your workflow, as opposed to creating multiple blocks with slight differences. Right, so the first step is in this process is to create a block. Now I'm going to just create a small little chair, and that's the seat, and I'm going to just create a little backrest. There we go, and I'm going to trim that away so that it looks like a little chair. Right, so then I'm going to go to the blocks tool and just give it a name, and create a point, select the objects, and say OK. Right, so the block's created, and that's basically the first step, to draw it up, create the block. Right, so now let's create a dynamic parameter in which if you click a button, this chair flips. Right, so how do we do that? We go to the block editor. It's a different area that from what you normally work with. This is basically where you would edit this block. Right, so within there you have a palette, and you've got parameters and actions. These two work together. So the first step is to create a parameter. I'm going to add a flip parameter in this case, basically just drawing kind of in a mirror line, and that's the name of this parameter, called flip state 1. On the left hand side here you'll see an arrow which we're going to, in our drawing, click on, which will then enable the action. Now in this case there's no action attached yet, hence the yellow exclamation mark. Right, so it basically tells us that there's a problem. Right, so if I go to actions, I simply look for flip action, and it'll ask me select parameter. I'll pick any of these parameter items. It'll then ask me to select objects, and I do that. You'll notice now that there's an action attached to the arrow. To test this, you could on the left hand side here at the top go test block. In this case I'm just going to close the block. It'll ask me to save, which I do, and then I can go and test it. Alright, so very quickly I've now added a flip parameter into this dynamic block. Right, okay, so now perhaps we can draw up maybe a desk over here that the chair faces, and I'm going to want to just increase the length of this desk to the right, and in that manner show you how another parameter works. Okay, so I'm going to go to the parameters. I'm going to add a linear parameter, and I'm going to say, alright, we now place this linear parameter like so, and we could actually just rename this parameter by right clicking on it, and we'll say, for instance, length. I guess that's fine, length. And also what we could do is we could change the display of the grips from 2 to 1, meaning that only one arrow is displayed instead of 2. Right, so the parameter is set. Now again the exclamation mark, so which means that we need to attach a action to this parameter which will drive the geometry. Right, so what I do is I go to the stretch action in this case, and it'll ask me select parameter. I do that. It'll ask me which arrow do I need to select. In this case I'll just pick the one on the right. It'll ask me for a frame and then a selection within that frame, which is similar to a stretch selection. Right, that done. I can go and test it again, save the block, and let's see if this works. Alright, there we go. By selecting the arrow, I can change the desk's length. If I do the flip still, it'll only flip the chair because of the selection that I did. It won't include the desk. If you want to include the desk, you can go and edit the selection of this action. Right, so you go to the selection set and you say modify selection set, including then the desk as well. Alright, so if I go close and I save, you'll see that I can still do this, and if I look at and click on the arrow, it now flips both the chair and the desk. Right, so carrying on, very easily we added these two parameters. Perhaps what I want to do is, as I increase the length of the table, so the number of chairs should increase to the right. Right, and that's basically an array action. So what I'm going to do is going to go to the block editor. The length parameter is already there because of the previous parameter that I added. So I'll simply add an additional action to that parameter, meaning that I'm going to add an array. Right, it'll ask me which parameter. It knows that it's the arrow is the drive or the driver, so it'll ask me select objects, which is these this chair. Alright, and it'll ask me now the distance between each chair. So in this case, I'll just pick kind of the center of there, and it'll about 900 is sufficient. Alright, so as I finished the value, it will add the second action to this parameter grip. Right, so if I go and exit and save, you'll notice as I pull this arrow to the right, you'll see more chairs get arrayed along to the right. Okay, so that's quite handy. Right, so the last parameter that I want to do is to show you how a visibility parameter works. Right, so if I go to the block editor, now firstly, before I do that, the visibility parameter I want to set up so that I only see the desk, and then or I only want to see the chair, or then I want to see both items. Right, so to do that, notice here at the top the visibility settings are grayed out, but as soon as I add a visibility parameter, say over here, you'll notice that once I add it, these on the ribbon highlight. So which means that I can go and set up these three states, renaming the main one to both displayed, for instance. I'll create another one, I'll call this only chair, and create another one, I'll call this only desk, for instance. Right, so these three states I'm happy with. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just say OK, and then set it to a specific state, so only chair, so which means that I only want to see the chair, which makes then the desk invisible. So I'll select the desk, there we go, and that's then done. Right, so this one I'll set up, it's only desk, which means then the chair should be invisible. Right, okay, so that's set up. If I now go both displayed, obviously that is fine. If anything if you want to fix anything, or if you made a mistake, you can just click this guy, which shows then the objects in that's been made invisible with a visible very slightly. Right, okay, so I'm going to close that, and then close the block editor, save it, and let's see if the these three states display. They display, and if I go only chair, it'll only show the chair. If I set it to only desk, only the desk displays, and then obviously both displayed. Both these groups still work, and there we go. Right, so the idea with this small short tutorial is just to show you how easy it is to create this dynamic block, and obviously you can insert these blocks. Each one could have a different table length, different number of chairs, and it'll increase your workflow tremendously. Right, so thank you for watching, and have a good day. Bye bye.